Today I wanted to show off my modded 3DS and what I do with it. First we'll just talk about the outside. There's no actual mods, this is purely just normal decorative stuff that anyone would do. I got the black new 3DS here, but this white stripe is off the white new 3DS. I got the black one, my brother got the white one. We swapped our faceplates around, so now it's kind of got this formal kind of top hat look to it that I really like. ABC stores from Hawaii. I went here on my honeymoon. It's just a fun reminder of that, and it makes it jingle around whenever I'm carrying my 3DS around the house. My wife always knows when it's in my pocket, so she can always say, stop playing video games and help around the house. And then up on the home screen, you can see we're on the apps open parens cool folder. This theme that I have installed right now with the folder icons and this wallpaper is supposed to emulate the original DSi, and you can manage wallpapers. You've probably seen this before using the Anemone 3DS theme manager. It lets you install custom wallpapers and things like that. And then right next to that I've got my emulation folder. Emulation is kind of hit and miss on the 3DS. Game Boy, original Game Boy Color, it runs okay most of the time. You actually will see some slowdowns. And then with Game Boy Advance MGBA, this one I actually kind of don't recommend. Emulating the Game Boy Advance is kind of difficult on the 3DS. You see a lot of slowdowns with this, so if you want to play Game Boy Advance games on your modded 3DS, I recommend actually installing them, going and finding a QR code and installing that using FBI. Same with the SNES. The SNES and the Game Boy Advance are extremely similar pieces of hardware, and the 3DS struggles to emulate both. Lots of slowdowns. Twilight menu, of course, is a must for any modded 3DS. Everyone needs the Twilight menu. Lets you play ROMs of DS games. So I've got my entire DS game library in Twilight menu. I've got a couple of them forwarded to the home screen, like you saw Lego Star Wars maybe, up by my favorites. But this, you need Twilight menu. I'll briefly go through what I had to do to set up Twilight menu on here and how I have it set up right now. My 3DS and Twilight menu both take a while to load because I've got such a big micro SD card installed in here. I think it's like 100 gigs, something like that. And that is just the right size for me, but you will see slowdowns because it has to read the entire SD card multiple times to do certain actions. Okay, so this game is corrupted, but I had to create some folders because there's a limit to how many titles you can have on this screen. See, I only had one more space open. If I had two more games in this folder, let me turn the sound down. If I had two more games in this folder, one would show up and the second one would just not be read. I wouldn't be able to open it. So in order to keep a bunch of games in here, you really have to put them in subfolders. I've seen some people do it alphabetical. I do it by category. So here we've got Lego games. Yep. That's basically it. That's all I wanted to show off in here. Every Pokemon game. It's really overkill. Anyway, so we'll go back to the home screen and talk about some other stuff that's cool on a modded 3DS. Another emulator on here that I recommend everyone try, at least, is called Red Viper. And that emulates the... Oh, wow. Did my 3DS crash? No. It was just running slow, like we were talking about. I was worried it took longer than usual. So Red Viper emulates the Virtual Boy, and there were only like 6 games for the Virtual Boy. But Red Viper is awesome because you can actually use your 3DS slider and play the games in 3D on a 3DS, which is amazing. Like, those games got a whole new life to them to be able to play them on here. And so this Halloween, I absolutely will be playing Jack Bros on my 3DS. My favorites folder, 100 classic books. This is something everyone should try, reading a book in this orientation on a DS. It's a unique experience. Other games that I highly recommend are Zeo Drifter, Gunman Clive. You should absolutely play the AR games, Yoshi's New Island, and Kid Icarus. These are fantastic games, some of the most fun I've had on the console. And then you can use the trigger back here to swipe over to the other screen real quick, and this is self-explanatory. You got folders for all the various different games in a franchise that have a bunch of sequels, that kind of thing. Homebrew games. I don't really recommend installing PlayStation 1 games on here. Some of them work fine. Pepsi Man works pretty good, but Castlevania Symphony of the Night in particular I had trouble with, because whenever I tried to save, it would crash. Pure Boom is an installation of Doom for the 3DS specifically, and you can use any Doom WAD on there, which is awesome. It takes some setup if you're not familiar with Doom modding, but again, you can play it in 3D. You can play the original Doom through a 3D engine. I think that's just so cool. Minecraft I had on my Android phone like 15 years ago, and they ported it to the 3DS, and that's awesome. Love Minecraft. Let's see. Another app that I think a lot of people should install is this. So this is the 3DS video player, which is something that's kind of wild that the 3DS didn't originally have, but it lets you play, any MP4. I recommend only putting low resolution MP4s on your SD card, because if the resolution gets too high, you will run into problems with buffering. And there is some idiosyncrasies with using the app. Like, there's this controls tooltip thing, but you can't actually use any of the controls while the tooltip is open, so you have to close it and then press X, and then you can navigate on your SD card to wherever you put your movies. I put mine in a movies folder. And then, whenever I downscaled a movie using Windows Movie Maker to be the right resolution, I put open parens 3DS close parens after the file name. So if we just go to Come Home to Christ Wasted Nightcore, probably not. Might get flagged for using that copyrighted music. So let's use something that has never caused a copyright problem. Potter Puppet Pals for sure, not Star Wars. Turn the sound up. So this is a way you could take movies, maybe like ripped YouTube movies and things like that. Or, of course, anything that you have on DVD, you can rip using various tools. And then something that's a bit fun, when you open this menu back up, you can shrink the video, move it around, or, of course, really, really zoom in. Let's see how big we can make this. It lets you zoom in absurdly far. Yeah, this is the right way to watch Tenet for sure. Screw putting it on 30 Game Boy Advances. Let's just zoom in really big on a new modded 3DS. So yeah, that's kind of what I use my 3DS for, watching movies, emulating Game Boy Color games. The saves actually work on the original carts. You can get a tool like the Benven and pull your saves and a backup of the original game, and then save it to the micro SD card, and then play it there, and then save your progress there, and then move it back onto the cart. So That's what have been doing because I like playing on this a lot more than playing on, say, a Game Boy Color or a Game Boy Advance SP. I'm not taking advantage of save states or anything like that. It's just I like the form factor better. And you can also, I guess I should show you, something really cool you can do in the Game Yob emulator for Game Boy Color is you can play with the color settings. You can do like the Super Game Boy, or you can, put it in grayscale if you're the psychopath. Yeah, let's just open up my Pokemon Blue save. And then down here, yeah, you can turn on the printer and various things that I don't mess with, but colorize, inverted colors. Let me close this and we'll just jump into the game. Inverted colors, pastel mix, red, orange, yellow. It's weird how it doesn't affect the opening animation. Oh, you heard it stutter just there. Yeah, that's pretty standard for emulating a Game Boy. Oh, you see? There we go. The colors really are inverted there. Yep. So let's pick something interesting. Oh, this is colorizing Game Boy, but it's playing as a Game Boy Color game. I think that's the problem. But something I also really like is fast forward. You can hold down this trigger to fast forward, which, as you can imagine, in an original Game Boy Pokemon game is super helpful. Yeah, you hear how horrible that sound is? Yeah. Really don't recommend playing Game Boy Color on here. Just for those who want to play basically with the music off and then bring it back to the cart, which is a pretty specific use case, I will admit. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I've talked way too long about my 3DS. Enjoy your day.